Almost 24,000 million kilometers from Earth, an old spacecraft broke its silence. It had operated 4 times longer than planned, and its signal was not data or noise, but something else. Fragmented, complex, and impossible. Voyager crossed an area that no one understood, and what it discovered rewrote everything we thought about our solar system. This spacecraft, originally not intended for long existence, was launched in 1977. 2 space stations, Voyager 1 and Voyager 2, launched from Cape Canaveral, anticipating their mission would last only 5 years. They were identical in design but intended for different trajectories in the solar system. Created with computing power less than that of a modern calculator and without a plan for long-term existence, they were designed to photograph giant gas planets, send a few images, and quietly cease operation. Voyager 1 was launched later, but thanks to a faster trajectory, it overtook its brother. It used a rare planetary alignment, a kind of gravitational catapult that occurs only once every 176 years. This gravitational chain reaction propelled him beyond Jupiter and Saturn at unimaginable speeds, far exceeding his design capabilities. He had no backup processors, artificial intelligence, or solar panels. His only source of energy was a nuclear battery that gradually degraded over the years. His memory was only 69 kilobytes, but year after year he continued to move forward. He captured volcanic eruptions, discovered Titan's dense orange atmosphere, explored Saturn's intertwined rings, and the powerful magnetic fields of Jupiter. However, despite the main mission being completed, the Voyager did not cease to exist. It continued to move, without maintenance and updates, just a fragile metal body drifting farther than any human object in history. As he moved away from the planets and plunged into the cosmic darkness, he crossed an area that no probe had explored before. It was then that the real mission began. Discoveries that changed our understanding of the solar system. Even before Voyager reached the edge of the solar system, it completely changed our understanding of what it is. The first stop was Jupiter. The scientists expected to see a giant gas planet, but Voyager revealed a fierce colossus. A planet with overwhelming radiation, gigantic storms, and complex magnetic fields. However, the real surprise was one of its moons, which turned out to be a living satellite rather than a dead rock. Volcanoes erupted from its surface with such force, ejecting molten material hundreds of kilometers into space. This was the first active volcanic phenomenon ever observed beyond Earth. Then it was Saturn's turn. The spacecraft Voyager revealed the true structure of its famous rings, intertwined and swirling, formed by small moon bodies hidden from sight. He discovered unexpected gaps, strange patterns, and dynamic interactions that made this world much more unusual than previously assumed. However, the deepest discovery was Titan. Shrouded in an orange atmospheric haze, Titan exhibited signs of organic chemistry. Its dense atmosphere, rich in nitrogen, felt unsettlingly familiar, perhaps reminiscent of early Earth's atmosphere. The Voyager could not penetrate the clouds, but what it hinted at changed our understanding of planetary evolution. Voyager 2, following its trajectory, advanced further. In 1986, he reached Uranus. It was the only mission that passed by this planet. A world was discovered, rotating on its side with a magnetic field completely mismatched to its rotation. Then in 1989, Voyager reached Neptune, revealing supercritical winds and a dynamic atmosphere much stormier than expected. On Neptune's moon, Triton, nitrogen geysers erupted into space, freezing before falling back to the surface. Its surface appeared young, possibly shaped by internal forces. These were not just curious facts, but real revelations. The Voyager showed a solar system full of dynamic and active worlds, moons with atmospheres, storms larger than Earth, and magnetic fields challenging existing theories. The more he discovered, the more it reminded us of our own place. The cosmos was not empty. It was full of surprises, and even the most distant planets remained part of our home. When Voyager left Neptune, there were no more worlds to visit, no moons to photograph, only silence ahead. And in this silence, the solar system itself began to fall apart. To the void, at the edge of everything. After the planets were left behind, the Voyager entered an area that no space station had visited. It was the boundary between our solar system and everything beyond it. But this boundary was not a simple line. It was a real battle. The solar system is surrounded by an invisible and gigantic bubble shell known as the heliosphere, a kind of shield formed by the solar wind. A constant stream of charged particles emanating from the sun. For billions of kilometers, this wind expands, forming a protective cocoon, but ultimately meets resistance. The interstellar medium, consisting of gas, dust, and radiation filling the galaxy, creates a place where these two forces collide. The heliopause, the true boundary of our solar system. For many years, scientists did not know what to expect. Would Voyager pass through some barrier? Will this be a smooth transition? There were many theories, but in the year 2012, the signals changed. The Voyager 1 particle detector noticed the disappearance of solar particles. Magnetic fields shifted. External forces began to exert increasing pressure, and so, the density of plasma sharply increased, crossing the helium gap. Voyager 1 became the first man-made object to enter interstellar space. In 2018, Voyager 2 followed, but interestingly, it did not find the same. Voyager 1 found dense regions of interstellar plasma, like invisible pressure walls. Voyager 2 saw something different, a stream of elongated particles moving in strange directions. The same boundary, but two different experiences. And the most astonishing thing is that both missions recorded afterward. The helium pause turned out to be jagged rather than smooth. Huge magnetic folds formed by solar flares stretched billions of kilometers into space. They were not static, moving, and changing. In some places, they seemed to follow the probes, the models proving unsuccessful. The forecasts collapsed. The edge of the solar system, which once seemed calm, turned out to be chaotic, turbulent, and noisy. The Voyager found no peace in the outer darkness. It encountered noise, pressure, and movement. The edge was not an end, but merely a beginning, a problem that could end everything. At the end of 2023, decades after Voyager 1 crossed into interstellar space, something went wrong. The signals it sent back were corrupted, distorted fragments, disordered data that made no sense. Telemetry disappeared. There was no readable information. This was not a usual malfunction. The device remained operational, continued to transmit, but what it reported was incomprehensible. At first, engineers thought it might be a temporary disruption. Perhaps cosmic rays damaged the data packet en route. But the diagnosis revealed a deeper problem, a damaged section of the flight data subsystem, a fragile memory bank responsible for organizing all data before transmission. One single chip, likely affected by radiation, altered several critically important bits. It was not just a mistake, but a failure in the central memory of the apparatus, a part of the system that had not been touched since the 70s. With no backup available, there were no tools for repair. And what about the engineers who designed the system? Most of them are already retired or have passed away. But at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory and NASA, a group of mission veterans and young engineers refused to give up. They reviewed old documents, unearthed equipment schematics from 40 years ago, and began to restore the system, line by line, bit by bit. The correction had to be sent over a distance of 24 billion kilometers. One way it would take more than 22 hours, and if they made a mistake, even in one line, the device could shut down forever. In April 2024, they sent a patch. Then came the waiting. The response arrived a few days later. The signal was clear. The data was complete. Voyager 1 had been restored, reprogrammed remotely from deep space by a team that refused to abandon it. He was not made for repairs, but he was fixed. Messages for the unknown. Long before Voyager left the solar system, before it flew past the storms of Jupiter and the rings of Saturn, engineers attached a golden disk to its body. It was a message not for us, but for them. It was called the Golden Record. A 12-inch phonograph covered in gold was placed in an aluminum casing and attached to the ship's hull. It contained greetings in 55 languages, sounds of wind, thunder, and music from various cultures. Bach, Blind Willie Johnson, and folk songs. There were also diagrams of the human body, DNA structures, and the position of Earth in the galaxy marked by pulsars. No one expected anyone to find this disk. The likelihood of another civilization intercepting a 1970s spacecraft wandering through the endless cosmos was nearly zero. Но это и не было целью. Это была идея Карла Сагана, жест космической скромности. Заявление о том, что когда-то, в коротком миге времени, существовал вид, который не только наблюдал за звездами, но и хотел быть известным. The instructions recorded on the disk explain how to reproduce it, assuming that whoever finds it will be physically capable of doing so. Even the material, gold, is a symbol, durable and eternal. This is not a broadcast, but a whisper. And even if no one ever hears it, it still conveys what matters most, wandering towards eternity. Today, both Voyager stations are out there in space, quiet, constant, moving away from Earth every second. Voyager 1 is now more than 24 billion kilometers from home. It is the most distant object ever created by humanity. Voyager 2 follows, both continuing their long journey into the void Their instruments are gradually shutting down. The energy of their nuclear batteries decreases year by year. To conserve energy, NASA shuts down systems one by one. By the mid-21st century, the Voyagers will fall silent. There will be no more data on plasma or magnetic fields, only cold metal floating in space, but silence is not the end. Even without energy, the Voyagers will continue to wander, untouched and unharmed, for tens of thousands of years. Long after Earth changes, long after the last signal disappears, they will still carry their golden discs, the echo of our existence, rotating in the darkness like ancient relics. Yet they continue to teach us. Every difference in their measurements, temperature, density, pressure, tells us something new about the space between the stars. The Voyager 2 plasma instrument continues to collect valuable data. The Voyager 1 magnetic sensor still detects faint waves of charged particles piercing through the galaxy. Even now, 48 years after launch, they continue to rethink what we thought was known. These are no longer just missions. They are monuments. They were never meant to last long, but have become eternal. Wandering in the darkness beyond memory and maps, Voyager still guides us, not as a signal awaiting a response, but as a quiet testimony. We have reached the stars and left something significant.